The thin blue line, a phrase we often hear, symbolizing the brave men and women who stand between order and chaos. But what happens when that line is not just crossed, but shattered? What happens when a deep-seated, simmering hatred boils over into an act of calculated violence? Today we're going to talk about a story that shook a community to its core, the story of an officer who dedicated his life to service, and a man who dedicated his life to hate. This is the tragic case of Sergeant Caleb Eisworth and the monstrous act committed by Gad Black. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a city like any other where everyday heroes put on a uniform and risk their lives. Sergeant Caleb Eisworth was one of those heroes, a 23-year veteran of the Baton Rouge Police Department, serving in the elite motorcycle division since 2008. Over his career, he earned multiple commendations, including the prestigious Medal of Valor, for acts of heroism in the line of duty. He was a steady, dependable presence on the streets, a protector who led by example. But on June 16, 2025, his world and the world of his family and colleagues was brutally upended. An act of hatred, cold and deliberate, would leave him fighting for his life and ultimately take it. It was a Monday morning just after 11 a.m. Sergeant Eisworth was on patrol riding his marked police motorcycle on Jor Road. He was a familiar face, a symbol of safety on the streets of Baton Rouge. But a few blocks away, a predator was hunting. A man named Gad Black, driving a gray pickup truck, had a single sinister goal: to find an officer and make them pay for a hatred that had been festering for years. The evidence is chilling. Surveillance video from a nearby business captured the entire horrific event. Black didn't just swerve into the officer by accident, he followed him. He targeted him. As Eisworth rode along Jor Road, Black, with no regard for anyone else on the road, intentionally rammed his truck into the back of the police motorcycle. The impact was catastrophic. But the horror didn't end there. The force of the crash wasn't enough for Black. He continued to drive, dragging Sergeant Eisworth and his motorcycle for more than 500 feet, nearly the length of 2 football fields. The officer, pinned beneath the truck, was subjected to a brutal grinding assault on the asphalt. Imagine the scene, the screech of tires, the mangled metal, the absolute terror of the moment. And then, the silence. Black didn't stop to help. He didn't call for an ambulance. He fled the scene, leaving a critically injured officer lying in the middle of the road. But what he did next was perhaps the most shocking and infuriating part of this story. He went home, got on social media, and bragged about it. A Facebook post dripping with malice appeared on his page. "Check him out on Jor Road, stretched one." This wasn't a crime of passion. This was an act of pure, unadulterated hatred, and he was proud of it. Who is Gad Black? What could possibly drive a person to such an extreme act of violence? The answer lies in a long and disturbing history. This wasn't his first brush with the law, nor his first violent encounter with police. Back on July 5, 2014, Black's hostility towards law enforcement was already on full display. He was involved in a high-speed chase on Plank Road with his 9-year-old son in the car. He drove like a man possessed, swerving into oncoming traffic, running red lights, and attempting to strike 2 marked police units. He even flipped off a police helicopter. The chaos escalated when he hit a truck carrying 4 people. When officers finally caught up to him, he resisted arrest violently, punching a K9 and striking an officer. His charges included aggravated assault with a vehicle on a police officer, aggravated flight, attempt to injure a police animal, cruelty to a juvenile, and resisting with force. In 2016, despite a mountain of evidence, he took a plea deal, a 3-year sentence, mostly suspended, and supervised probation, a slap on the wrist for a man who had already proven himself dangerous. In the years that followed, his hatred didn't fade. It grew. His social media accounts became a disturbing record of escalating anti-police rhetoric praising those who harmed officers, mocking injured lawmen, and spreading venom that made his intentions clear. Within hours of the attack on Sergeant Eisworth, East Baton Rouge Sheriff's deputies launched a massive manhunt. They had a description of the vehicle, the plate number, and Black's own incriminating Facebook post. The search led them to the 8400 block of Airline Highway, where they found Black. True to form, he didn't surrender peacefully. He resisted arrest, leading to a struggle in which deputies deployed a taser before finally taking him into custody. And he wasn't alone in his crime. His girlfriend, Asia Raby, was arrested the same day for accessory after the fact and obstruction of justice. Investigators say she knowingly hid the damaged pickup truck in an attempt to help Black evade capture. Her bond was set at $15,000, and she was ordered to wear a GPS monitor. While her role might seem secondary compared to the main crime, it was a deliberate act to shield a violent offender from justice. For 7 long weeks, Sergeant Caleb Eisworth fought for his life in a Baton Rouge hospital. His family and colleagues held constant vigil. The injuries were devastating. Doctors were forced to amputate both of his legs above the knee in an effort to save him. The Baton Rouge community rallied with prayers, fundraisers, and public shows of support. The city waited, hoping for a miracle. But on August 10, 2025, those hopes were shattered. Sergeant Caleb Eisworth succumbed to his injuries. The Baton Rouge Police Department announced his passing with heavy hearts, and the city mourned the loss of a hero. With Eisworth's death, the legal stakes changed. The original charge of attempted first-degree murder was upgraded to first-degree murder, and Louisiana prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. Black remains in custody without bond, with a sanity hearing scheduled for September 3, 2025. The legal battle will be long and intense, but prosecutors have made it clear this was not just a traffic collision, it was a premeditated act of hate. This tragedy forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Unchecked hatred can manifest in the most terrifying ways. Sergeant Eisworth swore an oath to protect and serve, and for more than 2 decades he did so with honor. The thin blue line in Baton Rouge has been dealt a heavy blow, but the memory of Sergeant Caleb Eisworth, his service, and his sacrifice will endure. We will continue to follow this case and bring you updates as they happen. Stay safe, and thank you for watching.